I said earlier, I've never seen so many cowards and black men in this business, I would have to put my brother Tyler Perry in that. And I'm gonna tell you why I say that. I see you do a clip and you go to T.D. Jakes' church, and I watch you write a check for $1 million in front of the congregation, and you give it to this man. Was that for the congregation to give more money, or was that really genuine? See, when no one's watching, who are you? To when everyone's watching. And we got a chance to see him when no one was watching. He says, I'm the first person to pay Taraji P. Henson the most money she's ever made. And then we said, but did you pay her fairly? And then he said, I paid her more than she's ever made. What does that mean, brother? I feel like you're scamming us. And I feel like you're not being honest and truthful. And that's why the same story keeps repeating itself, because we keep doing the same history over and over and over again. I'll butter you up, but I'll be damned if I'm gonna pay you.
You got a guy that's a billionaire, and I got $3 grand in my bank account. Who they gonna believe? Right? I got that $3 grand. That's my son's mom's rent for next month.
For years, Monique has been trying to tell us something, but the industry ignored her, the media dismissed her, and people online called her everything from bitter to ungrateful. They told her to sit down, stay quiet, and be grateful for the scraps. But Monique didn't back down then, and she's definitely not backing down now. It's been a whole decade since the Oscar-winning actress and comedy legend first started speaking out against the power players who, according to her, blackballed her from Hollywood.
What is that black to that black man? So no, I was not blackballed. I was whiteballed by some black who had no balls. Thank you, Mr. Lee Daniels. Thank you, Mr. Tyler Perry. Thank you, Miss Oprah Winfrey. No, baby, I wasn't blackballed. I had no balls. And see, I know they like to say, Monique, you talk too mother. It would kill me not to say the real. It would kill me not to say the real. You are not paying me equally. You are not treating me fairly. So y'all can suck my I had one.
And now, after all these years of being labeled difficult, she's finally naming names. She's calling out Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey, not just as individuals, but as a powerful duo who, she says, actively worked together to shut her out of the industry she helped build. Why? Because she wouldn't play along. She said no to working for free, no to being used, no to being controlled. And that's all it took for them to quietly flip the switch on her career. Monique is revealing that what happened to her wasn't just a case of bad press or a misunderstanding. It was a strategic takedown planned by people who preach inspiration and empowerment on stage, but allegedly punish anyone who dares to challenge them behind the scenes. According to Mo, if you don't kiss the ring, you get cut off. If you ask for fair treatment, you get labeled problematic. And here's the kicker. It wasn't just Monique. She's making it very clear this is what they do to anyone who steps out of line, anyone who questions the machine. And now that other artists are beginning to speak up too, the pattern is getting harder to deny. Mo has the timelines, the audio, the facts. She's done playing polite. She's tired of the fake apologies behind closed doors and the silence in public. And after years of being silenced, she's reclaiming her voice and her story. What makes this moment different? People are finally listening. The cracks are showing. The curtains are falling. And the industry that once tried to erase her is now being forced to reckon with the truth. This isn't just Monique's comeback. It's a reckoning. Now, Monique is getting the last laugh. Tyler Perry is facing a lawsuit for some serious allegations. And you better believe Monique is loving every single minute of it. Let's not forget, she has been warning us about this man for a long time. People called her bitter, dramatic, even difficult to work with. They said she was just mad because Tyler Perry, Oprah, and Lee Daniels turned their backs on her. But now look at what's happening. Monique tried to tell the world that something wasn't right about Tyler. She stood alone. She got blackballed, and she paid a heavy price for speaking her truth. But did she back down? Not once. She stood firm, and now that the truth is finally starting to leak out, she's standing even taller. If there's one thing Monique will always do, it's stand on what she believes, even when the whole industry tries to shut her up. And now, with this lawsuit making headlines, she's not holding back. As soon as the news broke, Monique took to Instagram and dropped a video that had everybody talking. She said, "Guarantee you can't beat me up if you get mad, even if you get offended. So what you going to do?" Fans knew exactly who she was talking about. She didn't need to say his name. The shade was clear, the timing was perfect, and the message was loud. This isn't just about throwing petty shots. For Monique, this is about vindication. She has been gaslit, blacklisted, and dismissed by people who refuse to believe her. But now that Tyler Perry is being called out in court, the same people who ignored her are starting to pay attention. She's not surprised. She knew this day would come. She knew the truth would eventually rise to the top. And here's the thing. Monique has been saying from the beginning that Tyler Perry plays dirty behind the scenes. She said he pretends to be a man of God, but behind closed doors, he's part of a system that silences people, controls them, and uses his power to get what he wants. She's been vocal about how he tried to manipulate her into apologizing for speaking up. She recorded the phone calls, kept the receipts, and stood in her truth even when it cost her work, respect, and support. Now, the same man who tried to bury her is the one being dragged through the headlines. That's what makes this so full circle. Monique is not just enjoying the moment. She's using it to remind the world that she never lied. She never hated. She told the truth when it was inconvenient, and now it's all coming to light. So while the world watches Tyler Perry face these accusations, Monique is watching too. Not with bitterness, not with revenge, but with the calm confidence of a woman who was right all along. And now, finally, people are starting to listen. And just when you thought the tea couldn't get any hotter, here comes the lawsuit that's rocking the entire foundation of Tyler Perry's empire. For those of you who haven't heard the full details yet, let me break it down real quick. Tyler Perry is now facing a massive $260 million lawsuit. Yes, you heard that right. $260 million. And the accusations are nothing short of explosive. The man taking him to court is Derek Dixon, an actor who appeared on Tyler's BET show, The Oval. Now, this isn't some random internet rumor or a vague whisper from the shadows. This is a full-blown legal case filed in Los Angeles County Superior Court. Derek is not holding back. He's accusing Tyler Perry of quid pro quo harassment, battery of inappropriate nature, and retaliation, among other serious claims. And he's coming with receipts. According to the court documents, Derek says that Tyler used his power, his influence, and his billionaire status to create what he describes as a coercive and inappropriately exploitative environment. He claims that Tyler promised him career growth, creative opportunities, and advancement. But those promises came with a price. Behind the glam and lights, Derek says he was being manipulated and taken advantage of, all under the pretense of mentorship and professional support. And get this, Tyler Perry isn't standing alone in this lawsuit. His studio, Tyler Perry Studios, is named as a co-defendant. So is And Action, the production company behind the scenes. That means this is bigger than just one man. This is about an entire system that allegedly allowed and protected this kind of behavior. Now let's tie this back to Monique and Cat Williams, because when they said there was more to Tyler Perry than what meets the eye, this is exactly what they were talking about. They've been calling out the power games, the manipulation, and the way Hollywood protects its favorites while silencing everyone else. Derek Dixon stepping forward only proves what Monique has been screaming from the rooftops, that there's a dark side to the empire people love to celebrate. And if what Derek is saying holds up in court, this might be the beginning of the end for Tyler Perry's untouchable image. The whole world is watching now. The fans, the critics, the press, the people who once called Monique crazy, they're all paying attention. They said, this is an individual who got close to Tyler Perry for what now appears to be nothing more than setting up a scam, Perry's attorney Matthew Boyd said in a statement to The Times. But Tyler will not be shaken down, and we are confident these fabricated claims of harassment will fail. Now here's where things really start to unravel, because this lawsuit isn't just a random accusation tossed out of nowhere. Derek Dixon's 46-page complaint lays out a timeline that paints a disturbing picture, and if even a fraction of it is true, Tyler Perry's whole carefully polished image might be headed straight for collapse. According to the court documents, it all began in September 2019. Derek wasn't some Hollywood insider or seasoned actor at that point. He was working event staff at one of Tyler Perry's parties, just doing his job like any other hustling young man trying to get his foot in the door. That's when he met the House of Pain creator, who, according to the lawsuit, didn't waste time playing the long game. Within a month, Perry allegedly offered him an audition for his show Ruthless. Not just a conversation or a vague opportunity, but a straight-up promise. I'll change your life. That right there is what the lawsuit calls the first move in a calculated and escalating chain of quid pro quo behavior. It wasn't about talent or opportunity. According to Dixon, it was about power and what he was expected to give in return. That role in Ruthless was just the start. The lawsuit claims that from January 2020 all the way through June 2024, Tyler Perry maintained a pattern of workplace harassment, SA, and retaliation. That is over 4 years of alleged misconduct, during which Dixon appeared in 85 episodes of Perry's hit hit BET show The Oval, and that detail is crucial. Dixon wasn't some extra. He wasn't a background character who popped in and out. He was consistently working on a major series, playing a visible role in one of Perry's biggest projects. On the surface, it probably looked like a dream come true, a young actor getting steady work with one of the biggest names in black entertainment. But behind the scenes, Dixon says he was enduring a nightmare, a toxic environment where power was being used not to uplift, but to control and exploit. This entire situation adds even more weight to what Monique has been trying to say for years, that the industry, especially at the top, is not always what it seems. They've called out the abuse of power, the fake promises, and the selective silence. And now, here's a young actor backing up those claims with legal documents and receipts. Tyler Perry has built his brand on faith, forgiveness, and inspirational success stories. But if these allegations hold up in court, that brand might never look the same again. Because behind the empire, behind the Medea wig and the media praise, might be a man whose actions tell a much darker story. And Monique, she's been calling it from the beginning. Now, if the situation wasn't already explosive, these new details from Derek Dixon's lawsuit just turned the heat all the way up. This isn't some vague accusation. This is detailed, specific, and deeply disturbing, and it's pulling the curtain all the way back on who Tyler Perry really might be when the cameras stop rolling. According to Dixon, the alleged abuse wasn't just physical, it was psychological and constant. The lawsuit claims that Tyler Perry was relentless in questioning him about life, making suggestive comments, and even expressing jealousy whenever he interacted with other men. That's not just unprofessional, that's invasive and controlling. It creates the kind of environment where someone in a position of power isn't just managing a show, but managing someone's personal space, autonomy, and dignity. And it gets even darker. The complaint includes screenshots of alleged messages from Perry himself. In one, he reportedly asks, "What's it going to take for you to have guiltless sex?" In another, he compares Dixon to a rose, but says the actor is so blocked that you refuse to be smelt or opened. That language is not only creepy, it reeks of manipulation, the kind that plays on a person's vulnerabilities under the illusion of care or mentorship. But this isn't just about suggestive texts or inappropriate comments. According to the lawsuit, Perry's behavior crossed the line into outright physical assault. The first alleged incident happened in January 2020 when Dixon stayed the night in a guest room at Perry's Georgia home. He says Perry slipped into bed behind him and began rubbing his body around his inner thigh. That was just the beginning. From there, things escalated. In March 2020, Perry allegedly violently grabbed Dixon by the throat. Later that same year, Dixon claims he was groped again, this time in a trailer on set. Then, in June 2021, it happened again. According to the suit, Perry allegedly pulled down Dixon's underwear and groped his buttocks. These are not isolated incidents. They form a pattern, and the lawsuit draws chilling comparisons to high-profile Hollywood predators like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and Kevin Spacey. And that's the part that really hits, because for years, people looked at Tyler Perry as the untouchable mogul, a man who made it out of nothing and built a billion-dollar empire, a man of God, a voice for the voiceless. But if even a piece of what Dixon is alleging is true, then Perry might just be another powerful figure hiding behind faith, fame, and fortune while exploiting those trying to chase their dreams. Dixon wasn't just dealing with unwanted advances. According to the complaint, he was trapped in a delicate, high-stakes balancing act, trying to maintain just enough professionalism and friendliness to keep Tyler Perry from turning on him, all while constantly refusing his inappropriate behavior behind the scenes. Dixon says that the threat of having his character killed off on the Oval was always hanging over his head like a dark cloud. It wasn't just about saying no, it was about navigating power, ego, and control. Because when your entire career is tied to one of the biggest producers in Hollywood, and he's also the man harassing you, saying no isn't simple, it becomes survival. And according to Dixon, that's exactly what he was doing, surviving. The lawsuit claims Perry didn't just cast Dixon in the Oval, he also dangled a bigger dream in front of him, the chance to create and develop his own show. Imagine being a young actor and being told by one of the most powerful men in entertainment that he wants to help you tell your story. It sounds like the opportunity of a lifetime, but according to Dixon, it was nothing more than another manipulative tactic, a way to keep him close and compliant. After the alleged June 2021 assault, Dixon says he tried to create distance, but instead of backing off, Perry's so-called fixers came in, offering him a storyline boost and a pay raise on the Oval. The catch? He wasn't allowed to share that information with his castmates. That level of secrecy speaks volumes. It suggests that keeping Dixon quiet and loyal was more important than any sense of fairness or transparency. Even after Dixon tried to pull away, Perry allegedly continued to pry into his personal life. The lawsuit says Perry kept asking about his well into the following years. And when it finally became clear in March 2024 that Perry had no real intention of helping Dixon launch his own show, things began to unravel. The final straw came in June 2024 when Perry offered him a writing gig, which Dixon says made him realize that none of the promises were ever meant to come true. They were just bait. Dixon eventually reported the alleged harassment to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, but according to the lawsuit, his complaint was never investigated. And that's a whole other layer of pain, to be violated, to speak up, and then be ignored by the very system meant to protect you. It's a slap in the face, and it shows how hard it is for people to find justice when the abuser holds all the cards. The lawsuit also accuses Perry of retaliating when Dixon left the Oval. He was allegedly told he could only say he was taking medical leave, and to make matters worse, that leave was unpaid. That move effectively ended his role, stripped him of income, and publicly silenced him. In Dixon's words, it wasn't just a career blow. It was another calculated insult on top of everything else he'd already endured. Now, let's really connect the dots here, because what Derek Dixon is describing in this lawsuit isn't just a one-off situation. It's starting to look like a pattern. And if you've been paying attention, you'll realize this kind of manipulation, power tripping, and quiet retaliation is exactly what Monique went through during her fallout with Tyler Perry over the movie Precious. Now, no, Monique's experience wasn't about SA, and she's been clear about that. But the power dynamics, the bullying, the coercion, all of that was absolutely present. The same way Perry allegedly dangled creative promises in front of Derek Dixon and used his position to control access to opportunity, he did the exact same thing to Monique. The difference? Monique had protection. She had her husband, her team, and a strong enough voice to push back. But even with all that, the industry still turned on her. Let's rewind. When Precious started making waves, Monique gave a performance that critics and fans called award-worthy. She was sweeping the film festivals, and everyone knew the Oscars were calling. But when the time came to promote the film internationally, the studio asked her to travel for free. No extra pay, no per diem, no compensation. They wanted her to leave her kids and family, fly overseas, and work for nothing while everyone else on the project stood to gain more fame, more money, more career advancement. Sound familiar? Just like Derek, Monique was told it was about the greater good, about building relationships, about future opportunities. But when she said no, when she dared to ask for what she deserved, that was the moment everything changed. They didn't just disagree, they blackballed her. Tyler Perry, Oprah, and Lee Daniels all played their part in shutting Monique out of the industry. She went from Oscar-winning actress to being labeled difficult, angry, and ungrateful, not because she was wrong, but because she said no to exploitation. And a lot of people saw that it was wrong.
Monique, why is she canceled? And then I know Tyler wouldn't support that. He never told nobody not to work with her. When I talked to him, he was like, nah, I never told no one not to work with her. And I said, but you Tyler Perry, and you never told anyone to work with her.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And he was like, I never looked at it like that. Because I said, you just got to consider how strong your influence is at that point.
And now, here we are, watching Derek Dixon accuse Tyler Perry of using the exact same playbook. A young actor promised an opportunity, given just enough to stay hooked, and punished when he dared to pull away. The key difference? Monique had been in the game long enough to smell the manipulation. Derek, newer to the industry, likely didn't know how to navigate it without risking everything. And still, both of them ended up isolated and professionally punished. This is bigger than just two people. This is about how power is used as a weapon in Hollywood. About how Tyler Perry, the man who built his brand on faith, healing, and opportunity, may have been running a system that thrives on silence, submission, and control. Whether it's asking for free labor, it's the same core problem. Do what I want or lose everything, Monique told us. She stood on that stage, called out the names, and demanded her respect. People laughed. People dragged her, but now, the truth she was screaming years ago is echoing louder than ever. Tyler Perry didn't just have a moment, he might have had a method, and the stories are finally starting to match. Now let's talk about Tiffany Haddish, because if there was ever any doubt that Tyler Perry's pattern of behavior wasn't limited to just one or two people, her story makes it crystal clear. What happened to her might not have made the same headlines as Monique's, or grabbed as much attention as Derek Dixon's lawsuit, but her experience is just as real, just as painful, and just as damning. Tiffany was one of the brightest rising stars in comedy, best known for her breakout in Girls Trip. She was funny, raw, and relatable, the kind of energy Hollywood loves to exploit until it no longer serves them. And in the early years of her grind, guess who stepped into her life with promises and opportunities? Tyler Perry. But instead of offering her a seat at the table, Perry did what we've now come to expect. He dangled crumbs and called it a feast. According to Tiffany, Perry bought her a car. Sounds generous on the surface, right? But she later said that the car came instead of actual fare fair compensation for her work. Reminds you of the Cadillac Records situation. They'll buy you a ride, something flashy to show off, but they won't pay you what you're worth. That's manipulation disguised as kindness. That's power dressed up like generosity. That's Tyler Perry playing the long game with people he knows are vulnerable, hungry, and trying to make it.
Says, I'm the first person to pay Taraji P. Henson the most money she's ever made. And then we said, but did you pay her fairly? And then he said, I paid her more than she's ever made. What does that mean, brother? When you go and buy Tiffany Haddish a car, see, if we remember the movie Cadillac Records, I'll keep buying you a car, but I won't give you what you're worth. So,
because if I give you what you're worth, you can buy your own car.
I don't need you to buy no car. I don't need you to pay for me to go on no vacation. Just give me what my resume says I'm supposed to get. So when you ask me how does it feel to not hear him come out, I've seen The Wiz. And that's why I am so passionate about it. And I'm grateful that I do have my husband, because I can get extremely passionate about it. And I don't want to ever seem like I'm talking harshly about my brothers and sisters, but it takes me to a different place when I feel like you're scamming us. And I feel like you're not being honest and truthful. And that's why the same story keeps repeating itself, because we keep doing the same history over and over and over again. I'll butter you up, and I'll be damned if I'm gonna pay you.
She publicly shared how she was supposed to get paid only $1,200 for a movie she worked on with Perry. And not only did they not pay her fairly, they allegedly didn't pay her at all. Nothing. Zero. And because it was a non-union film, she had no way to fight back. That story hit hard because it echoed what so many black actors and creatives have said for years. Tyler Perry talks about lifting people up, but behind the scenes, it's a different story. And it didn't stop there. Tiffany also shared how, after she got hit with that messy lawsuit involving minors, a case that was dismissed and later proven false, the entire industry turned its back on her. One by one, the phone calls stopped, jobs dried up, support vanished. And where was Tyler Perry? Silent, absent, gone. A man who once called her family, who built his brand on second chances and redemption, was nowhere to be found. This hit Tiffany hard. She was vocal about how she lost everything. She opened up to TMZ and other outlets about how people she thought were friends just vanished when she needed them most. And yes, that includes Perry. Monique herself pointed this out, saying that what happened to Tiffany wasn't an accident, it was part of a bigger pattern. When black women speak out, ask for more, or face scandal, Tyler Perry doesn't protect them. He drops them. And if that's not betrayal, what is? Even more recently, Tiffany made cryptic remarks about her frustration, saying things like, "Don't ask me to do because I'm a nice person." Her tone shifted. The nice girl image was breaking. You could hear it in her voice. She was tired of being taken advantage of, tired of giving and getting nothing in return. It was raw, real, and it made it very clear she was done playing nice. And let's not forget that this isn't an isolated incident. Tiffany's story lines up with other accusations against Perry, like when he fired 4 black writers from House of Pain for trying to unionize, like when SAG-AFTRA and Actors Equity banned their members from working on his stage productions due to unfair labor practices, like when Monique was blackballed for saying no to unpaid press, like when Derek Dixon was allegedly manipulated, groped, and silenced. It's the same story, different face. Even Terry Crews has started to speak out, suggesting that Perry might not be the wholesome mogul he portrays himself to be. And what makes this even messier? Right around the time rumors were flying about Perry being linked to dark dealings, even whispers of human trafficking, he suddenly popped up in a PSA against human trafficking. The timing? A little too convenient. Tiffany Haddish's story is layered, it's emotional, and it's all too familiar. A young black woman hustling through pain, homelessness, and trauma finally makes it only to be used, discarded, and left to clean up the mess alone. And the man who once promised her opportunity and support, the man who built his name on faith and family, he was nowhere to be found. So when Monique says this isn't a one-time thing, she's not being bitter. She's not ranting. She's pulling the cover off a machine that's been running on exploitation and silence. Tiffany Haddish is just another name in the long list of people who got too close to Tyler Perry's empire, only to find out it wasn't built on faith, but on control. And so many other stars have suffered. If there's another name that brings another serious layer to Tyler Perry's ongoing scandal, it's Christian Keys.
I'm interested to see which peers are mad at me because it may interfere with their work. But, yeah. You get a grown-ass man that knows that you're heterosexual and you're sleeping off Hennessy in his guest room. because he says it's safe. Because I know I'm bent, so I'm after a big party. Won't say what type, won't say where. I'm asleep. I'm gone because I'm 4-5 Hennessy's deep, and not short Hennessy's either. And this dude tries to climb into bed with you. So you spaz out, push him out, like what the f***? Get ready to leave. He apologizes, blame it on the alcohol. And you try to forgive him. So you're like, all right, man. All right, I'm gone. You shake his hand on the way out, and he tries to grab your p***.
While Monique has been the most vocal and public in her criticism, Christian's name connects a much deeper and darker thread. His alleged experience eerily mirrors that of actor Derek Dixon, and when two different men tell almost the exact same story about one man's disturbing behavior, it's no longer a rumor, it's a pattern.
He tries to shake and grab your equipment. And you spaz even more. Like, what the f*** you doing, man? What the f***? Oh, my bad. So you go to leave, he tries to do it again. Now, at that point, my only regret is not breaking multiple bones in this person's face. Like beating the shit out of this person, right? Because that's available to me at all times. That inner grizzly bear is always available, but in the moment, I'm like, what the fuck? And what? But you got a guy that's a billionaire, and I got $3 grand in my bank account. Who they gonna believe? Right? I got that $3 grand. That's my son's mom's rent for next month. Gotta make sure little man's taken care of. That's my rent, and that's a little bit for the gas tank, and the rest of it I can go to the dollar store and get some bread and bologna and hot dogs and mustard, and I can get by. Work was slow, and a lot of the work that was coming it had to it. I'm like, that's not what I want, that's not what I'm about to do. I regret not speaking up then, not being brave enough to, and I regret not hurting this person. Because I got a big heart. Mother had a big heart.
Christian Keys, a well-known actor in Black Hollywood circles, reportedly spoke out in 2023 about being harassed for years by a powerful Black Hollywood billionaire. He didn't name Tyler Perry directly, but the details he dropped, a rich Black mogul with heavy philanthropic work, ties to HBCUs, and a highly polished public image, led fans and insiders to one conclusion: he was talking about Perry. And now that Derek Dixon has come forward with a lawsuit detailing nearly identical behavior, that suspicion is turning into confirmation. According to court documents cited by Derek Dixon, he pieced together Christian Keys' experience, Perry allegedly getting drunk, climbing into his bed, fondling him, offering money, and making disturbing suggestions, and realized it matched his own. Even more damning, Dixon claims that Tyler Perry Studios paid Christian off and threatened him into silence. This is crucial because it signals potential hush money and intimidation tactics, the very same tactics Cassie described in her lawsuit against Diddy. Let's be clear, Derek's testimony is detailed. It includes text messages, intimate conversations, casting manipulation, and psychological grooming. When he references Christian's story, it's not for dramatics, it's a warning. Tyler Perry's alleged behavior isn't new, it's recurring. Christian just didn't have the public support to take it further. Yet, this isn't about sexuality anymore. It's about abuse of power, coercion, and control. Tyler Perry allegedly promised roles, dangled opportunities, and then retaliated when men like Derek or Christian didn't play along. The Christian Keys case in particular is key because he was a known actor with legitimate talent and growing visibility. He hinted at the identity of his alleged abuser without naming names, likely due to legal threats. His story was dismissed until another another man, Derek Dixon, came forward with the exact same details. The fact that Christian mentioned someone offering him $100,000 just to watch him strip with no touch involved adds a disturbing layer because it's not about intimacy, it's about domination. Christian Keys' story makes Tyler Perry's public persona even harder to believe. The philanthropist who pays HBCU tuition and donates during disasters, allegedly using those acts to polish an image while hiding a predatory double life. Christian said it best himself: "I'm tired of this person gallivanting around doing PR stunts. If you gon' do all that, then speak on it." Monique warned us about this. Now with Christian Keys' name added to the pile and Derek Dixon's lawsuit confirming it, we are looking at what appears to be a cover-up of systematic abuse and manipulation. If Derek is telling the truth, then not only is Tyler Perry guilty of this behavior on multiple occasions, he is also using his power and wealth to silence his victims. That is the very thing he pretends to stand against in his movies and public appearances. And Monique, she has been telling us for years, black actors, especially women, are used and discarded by this machine. And now we know even black men are not immune. Tiffany Haddish, Christian Keys, Derek Dixon, Monique. One by one, they are forming a loud and undeniable chorus. Tyler Perry is not who the world thinks he is, and the truth is starting to leak through the cracks. And just when you think the pattern couldn't get any more obvious, the Diddy trial flips the lid off everything. What started as an investigation into one man's alleged crimes is slowly turning into a spotlight on an entire system. Tyler Perry hasn't been dragged to court, but his name, it's there, floating through testimonies, embedded in timelines, whispered in connection to the very parties that witnesses have now described in graphic detail. Those events Cassie Ventura called freak-offs were no casual Hollywood hangouts. They were tightly controlled productions, complete with pills, contracts, cameras, and people who were allegedly not always there by choice. And now multiple people are pointing out that Tyler Perry was seen at some of those very parties. Not in passing, not as a random guest, but as part of the regular crowd. At first, it felt like the same old internet gossip, but now there are NDAs, sworn testimonies, and a long list of people who once had nothing to gain by speaking up. Back then, if you mentioned Perry's name in connection to anything dark or exploitative, you were labeled bitter or crazy. But now that the courtroom doors are open and the silence is cracking, the questions are coming faster than Perry can shut them down. Suddenly, Jaguar Wright's old interviews aren't being laughed at. People are revisiting her claims that men came back from working with Perry differently, like something shifted in them. And now that Diddy's trial is peeling back the layers, those shifts don't look so harmless anymore. It's not just the parties or the rumors. There's a long history of control tied to Perry's name. Writers who worked under him have talked about the fear on his sets, the way scripts would be rewritten last minute, and the pressure to perform under impossible timelines. Asking for union contracts, that got them fired. Speaking out, that got them blacklisted. This wasn't about creative differences. It was about power. It was about reminding everyone who was in charge. Even his public image, the self-made mogul who gives back to the community, is starting to show cracks. People are remembering how Perry sued a former employee who many believed was more than just staff. They're digging into that strange moment when he announced he was having a child with a woman most people didn't even know he was dating. They're going back to what his former friend Walter Lee Hampton said, that Perry once identified as gay, but distanced himself from the LGBTQ+ community once his fame took off, afraid the truth would cost him church fans and studio money. Hampton said he watched Perry turn his back on the very people who helped build his early success. And when he spoke out, he became silent or worse. Then there are the critics, not just of Perry's personal life, but of his work itself.
Well, I mean, this is a complex subject because each artist should be allowed to pursue the artistic endeavor. But I still think there a lot of stuff that's on today is coonery and buffoonery. And I know it's making a lot of money, breaking records, but we could do better. That's just my opinion. I mean, I'm a huge basketball fan, and when I watch the games on TNT, I see these two ads for these two shows, and I'm scratching my head. We got a black president. Are we going back to Mantan Moreland and sleep and eat?
Yet, if those films, and I mean, we're talking about Tyler Perry at this point. No, I mean, look,
From Medea to the countless one-dimensional characters he's created, cultural voices have long argued that Perry profits off of caricatures. Critics like Jamila Lemieux and Spike Lee said it plainly. The shows were harmful, the messages were damaging, the characters weren't real people, they were exaggerated performances. But those warnings were buried under box office records and press praise. It was easier to celebrate his rise than question the cost of it. Now, with more victims coming forward, people are no longer so quick to shrug off the rumors, because the story isn't just about Diddy or Perry or Oprah anymore. It's about everyone who was there, everyone who knew, everyone who stayed quiet while the machine kept turning. And the more you look at it, the harder it becomes to deny that something very real, very dark, and very powerful has been operating in plain sight. Tyler Perry may not be sitting in that courtroom, but his name is in the margins, and those margins are closing in. So, what do you think? Comment down below and let us know. If you like this video, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be the first to see my next video. I post updates like this every week where I uncover the secrets of your favorite celebrities.